too.
Buckeye Brawler says he's still getting BJJ radio after the refresh.
After the refresh?
After.
No, you're not, Buckeye. Refresh again.
So is Clean Mars.
I'm asking my producer right now. She says refresh again. So everybody refresh again.
So, I mean, personally, as Matthew Roth, I'm going to have to say that you should refresh again. Because I am Matthew Roth.
And Brooklyn Brawler says me too, and this BJJ guy is not his cup of tea. We're very sorry that you had to be listening to the BJJ guy, but it should be fixed.
It's all settled. Just for those who are just now tuning in, again, I am Matthew Roth. I've got a dinosaur dragon tattoo surfing on my arm. I write about us.
Right, Usk. Canaanite says I should use Adderall and mistakes like this wouldn't happen. Exactly. I should just use Adderall because Adderall is the greatest thing in the hitch. You know what's funny is the last experience I ever had with drugs, I'll get a little personal here, is I think Adderall was I popped a couple with some buddies. We had a friend who has ADD, way back in the day or whatever, and he's like, man, you guys don't have ADD, so this shit would probably fuck you up in a good way. And of course I was, younger then and into, I'll try some shit. You did do some acid, smoke some weed, get drunk and all that bullshit. So I'm like, yeah, let's try it. And I was awake for like 2 fucking days straight, and it was the most miserable time of my life. It was literally the worst shit ever.
You can imagine how those Seahawks felt.
Yes, I can't imagine how they felt. And I can imagine, I understand now why it's overtime in a football game where they've been running around all day and nobody's fucking tired. The only people who are tired play for the Chicago Bears. Why? No one wants to investigate this, but I think it needs to be investigated. Every Seattle Seahawk on the field was super fresh. They're running around. They got a bunch of energy. How is this possible after 4 quarters of football? Huh.
Well, didn't they have 2 players already pop for that?
Yeah.
Like legit, yeah. So
the one guy, Brandon Browner, he is going to start serving his 4-game suspension immediately. And the other guy's still trying to appeal it. And they were trying to appeal it, and because they're appealing it, they got to play in the Bear game.
Interesting.
So, and Brooklyn Brawler says the Bears are missing the playoffs. Well, you know what? If that happens, you're banned. Okay? That's right. Because I have that power. King Nerd says, evening, gentlemen and ladies. There are no ladies here.
Is Jolie not here? What about Bitch Hold My Hoops?
They used to be. If they knew you were here, Matt Roth.
Matthew Roth, of course.
Matthew Roth. They would be here. I think they would be here. I don't know if they do.
Clinging Mars says, holy fucking shit, it's Sergio. Man United sucks, by the way. Well, being Matthew Roth, I support Barcelona and Chelsea, I think. So I'm going to have to agree with that, being Matthew Roth. Let's talk about pro graps. How about that?
Let's talk about pro wrestling. I had an idea of what we were going to talk about, and then fucker sidetracked me, man. That happens so much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What is that god-awful noise?
That's a telephone. Have you never heard a telephone before?
No. I have a cell phone, dude, and it's always on vibrate, so I haven't heard a phone ring in a really long, or at least not a normal telephone ring.
That's a landline.
Because it's 2012 now, and everyone has a fucking ringtone. So when their shit comes on, I have to listen to Jay-Z rap for a couple minutes.
And so there you go. So let's see here.
So what's going on in pro wrestling?
Pro wrestling is a competition between 2 people, and it's scripted. And right now, apparently, CM Punk is the best at it.
Apparently.
So let's talk about that. He apparently broke some kind of record recently.
Yeah, something. 381 straight days as the champion. I want to ask you this. When you think back, okay, so today's the day that it's official. 381, and now he's number 1 in the past 25 years, just surpassed John Cena.
And this is it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's no one I think will ever reach Hogan or Backlund or, God forbid, San Martino. So yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, this is a big deal. Like,
yeah, there are some people talking out there, like, because of how much things have changed, we might as well consider this the new record, because the game is, the landscape of professional wrestling is so different now.
Game's changed, homie.
The game has changed.
Has been flipped.
Yeah, it's like you can't compare like Johnny Unitas's 49 consecutive games with a touchdown pass versus Drew Brees throwing 54 in a row, because Brees did it in an era where you can't touch the wide receivers without getting flagged for some bullshit penalty. And Unitas did it when you could basically rape them.
And there were no blacks in the league as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's another thing that when you take into account like old sports records, like there weren't a whole lot of African Americans playing. So
which means there weren't a lot of explosive athletes.
No explosiveness whatsoever.
It took us 15 minutes to get racist.
A lot of good, clean-cut gentlemen playing the sport. Nobody explosive, though.
It took us 15 minutes to get racist. This is terrible. But no, yeah. So it's for all intents and purposes, CM Punk is that's the record now, basically. And if he holds it all the way up until the Royal Rumble, then his reign will end at 434 days, which is just fucking insane. But my question that I was getting to is
a lot of days.
That's a lot of days. My question that I was getting to is, what's the most memorable moment from this title reign? 381 days, the most memorable moment.
The most memorable moment?
Yes.
I guess, You're
already making my point because you don't know. Nothing comes into your head.
Who'd he beat at SummerSlam?
John Cena. Right? Wasn't that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because Raw 1000 was Cena tried to cash in and didn't get it. Or maybe SummerSlam was the triple threat with Big Show in there. Let me look it up. But see what I mean? You're like, whoa.
It's been a big criticism of Punk's reign is that it's more quantity than quality.
Yeah, it was Big Show and Cena. Triple threat. That match went 13 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
Maybe that. Maybe a triple threat match that I couldn't even remember the participants in. Maybe that was a memorable moment.
Like I started to lose my man crush on CM Punk. I guess like around WrestleMania, maybe a little after that. I'm over him now. I mean, so
yeah. People
just seems like a dick,
like a real life dick.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to hang out with that dude.
Clingy Mars says the most memorable moment. Are you kidding me, guys? And he links to a YouTube video of his shoot promo. He wasn't champion then.
That was like 3-4 years ago or something like that. Water under the bridge.
That was last year.
Whatever. I'm an old man now.
Yeah, you're fucking like 900. Still. Well, Roth, yeah. So, with the big old beard, and we know that's how you're old. But no, yeah, he wasn't champion at that time. People are bringing up, like, maybe it's attacking The Rock at Raw 1000, I guess, which I guess you could say. The Lawler Heart Attack segment, which, like, if you're going to say that, I think that was more Heyman than it was Punk. I kind of preferred, because I remember it for Heyman being there and laying down. I guess Punk was pretty fucking brilliant in that segment. Do you still watch wrestling as much as you used to since you aren't kind of working on it anymore?
No, I just kind of just read the site and,
keep up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did watch one episode.
What episode was that?
I don't even fucking remember. I watched it on Hulu.
I still haven't used Hulu. What's it like using Hulu for the shows the next day?
It's just if you'd watch it, like if you had it taped or DVR'd, and you would fast forward through all the crap you don't want to watch. So it's pretty dope.
So it's not cut out a lot like on their YouTube?
Oh no, they have a ton of stuff cut out. But it's mostly just inconsequential stuff that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Canaanite brings up a good point that Punk wasn't even in the main event until August. So that's a big reason why his programs with Jericho and Bryan forgotten by many. That's also a very good point.
That is a good point.
He was playing second fiddle to John Cena and John Laurinaitis and Triple H and Brock Lesnar for a good while.
Yeah, and I mean his run is going to go out not with a bang but a whimper, most likely, because I mean he's not even going to wrestle at TLC. And King Nerd asked the question, is he going to miss the show? It's been confirmed in as much as anything can be confirmed when you're talking about pro wrestling that no, he's not going to wrestle the show. And instead they booked Ryback and Team Hell No versus The Shield, which I don't know how we've gone this long without bringing up the fact that your boy toy, Dean Ambrose, is now a member of the active roster on Raw.
Be still my beating heart. Yes. I do like Skylark Freedom's comment that punching a fan is the high point of CM Punk's title reign.
The fan that didn't actually do anything wrong.
Yeah, just the dude standing behind him gets popped by CM Punk.
I'm glad that happened because it was the first time that we really got to test out a lot of our new technology since making the switch to the new platform and the new look and design and all the new tools that they gave us. The story stream stuff, the big breaking news banner and all that shit. And we did a fucking shit ton of hits just because people are wondering, you know, from him actually punching the fan to the douche going online. And like I took a screenshot and a dude came to Cageside and saw that he was in the picture and like started going off talking about how he was responsible and fucking, you know, he's the one that was talking shit and poking and prodding Punk, and finally some other guy got hit and he was laughing about it and telling the dude he can get paid a bunch of money and he can make millions off of WWE because Punk's dumb just because he was talking shit, taking a bunch of credit. And like Keith Harris is writing articles calling him a douche. Which is great because Keith's usually not like that, but he just like couldn't hold back this time. Like, this guy's an asshole.
Was he calling him a douche or was he calling him the Scottish equivalent?
What's the Scottish equivalent? He's not actually Scottish.
Oh, is he not?
No, I found it. If you had been listening to the fucking show, we actually had him on.
Oh,
I think we had him on twice.
Twice? Two times?
Twice. He has an English accent.
Oh, so is he English?
So yeah, I think he's English.
Welsh?
Welsh, he just moved to Scottish. Or
so
something.
He moved to Scottish.
Yeah.
Not Scotland.
Not
Gino Morosco, everyone. Gino Morosco.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, but he moved to Glasgow, I think is how you say it. Because he made fun of me for not saying it right last time. So Glasgow.
That was Glasgow.
That's what I thought, but I don't think it's that. Because I know you brought that up.
Well, Dean Ambrose. Oh, I love you, Dean Ambrose.
Your fucking boy toy is here.
So good. And everyone loves him, right? Everyone loves him.
He's become the unofficial, remember Brodus Clay? And we used to fucking do posts for him just to, you know, here's Brodus Clay's appearance from Raw, just in a totally separate post, just so we could all mark out about it. He's basically become that. Like, he's overtaken Brodus Clay as the official Cageside Seats WWE talent, I guess.
But he's not going to overstay his welcome because it's not a flash in the pan. He's not, you don't enjoy it ironically or even, you know, for a moment. Dean Ambrose is here to stay. I love him.
Well, he's actually really fucking good is the thing about it. Brodus Clay has talent and he has potential.
Is that guy still around? Is he still doing his thing?
He's still around. He's still a fat dinosaur but he's turned into a jobber is what's funny. He was squashing everybody and now he's the one who gets squashed.
Yeah, well, you know, that's how the worm turns in the WWE. He
was last seen, you'll see him SmackDown. I think him and the Usos end up losing a tag match to, I don't even remember who. That's how inconsequential it is. Or no, wait, maybe him and Primo and Epico. I don't know. Either way, they're all terrible. So, I'm curious though as, you get Ambrose and Rollins and Reigns, and the other, I don't know enough about the other two at all. Rollins seems okay. I kind of like Reigns because he's got the obvious look. Like, he looks really good when he's in there.
He's the muscle. He's the muscle.
Yeah. He's probably got a better look. You could argue that Rollins has a better look than Ambrose. So already Ambrose is kind of on the low end because of the shit that WWE looks for, but he's clearly the best talker. Like, it's not even close.
Well, see, here's the thing. You got Roman Reigns, who's the muscle. You got Seth Rollins, who is the looks, and Dean Ambrose is the wild card.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So, as far as Ambrose in the ring, how good is he?
he is fantastic in the ring.
Is he?
Yes.
Compare him to someone that people would know, so they know what to expect on December 16th.
Um, I mean, he had great matches with William Regal where he aped a lot of Regal's moves and holds just to get under his skin. I don't know. I mean, he's really solid. I mean, he's just a really solid wrestler overall. I don't know. I can't really compare him. If anyone else could compare him, there's that weird phone again.
There's that fucking phone again, man. You're a popular guy.
If I don't know who I would compare him to stylistically, but I mean he is very solid inside the ring. I mean, dude, he wrestled for Dragon Gate. You can't really make
John
cut your
Moxley.
teeth. You can't really cut your teeth there unless you're good inside the ring. I mean, there are a bunch of promotions where you can contribute in other ways besides in-ring ability. Dragon Gate USA isn't really one of those because they don't really have a personality.
Buckeye says early Stone Cold.
Yeah. I mean, like Stone Cold, like they're both like very technically sound, but can brawl and he's had some crazy hardcore wars.
Because that's a pretty fucking heavy duty comparison to make, because I know a lot of people will hear that and go, yeah, but early Stone Cold wasn't, a lot of people wouldn't really know how good early Stone Cold really was. Early Stone Cold was a better wrestler by a mile than late Stone Cold. Late Stone Cold wasn't even really a wrestler. He was a kick punch.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. Yeah, that's all he was. His neck was held together by twist ties and Elmer's glue.
Space Mountain says Ambrose in the ring. Kind of like Piper, but a better grappler with a lot of gritty, bone-crunching kind of brawling moves, I'd say. Great in-ring psychology. That sounds like Austin.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like late Austin. It's really good psychologically, but like a heavy-duty main event WWE style brawler. And if that's true, if he can mix the two, then that's like the perfect wrestler. Right?
I'd say so. I would say so. What else we got? We got John Cena taking on Dolph Ziggler for in a ladder match.
This is a big point of contention
for Ziggler's Money in the Bank briefcase.
This is a really big point of contention on the site, and that's immediately when they fucking put that stipulation in there. Jesse comes to me and he's like, "Okay, I got my article for Tuesday night, and it's gonna be about this briefcase deal and how fucking dumb it all is." And it's I've been reading. I read that WWE knows, and this is going to go in the rumor roundup, which I think probably post that tomorrow. The rumor roundup post, which is that WWE knows what they have with Ziggler. So everyone who's listening right now, if you love Dolph Ziggler, know that they know that too. And it's entirely possible he's going to beat John Cena at TLC. But if WWE wants to avoid Cena winning the Rumble, which it basically looks like this: either he wins the briefcase or he wins the Rumble. And that's how he gets into the title shot. But the fucking briefcase is for the World Heavyweight title. So I don't understand if they're thinking about unifying the belts. Would you be on board with that?
Here's my thing. It used to seem like when I was growing up watching wrestling, it used to seem like everyone was either going up the ladder or down the ladder. And it doesn't seem that way anymore. It just seems like these guys feud and nothing comes of it. They just feud because they're just placeholders. And it doesn't seem like a wrestler comes into WWE and, works his way up and it should be every wrestler's goal to win either the WWE title or the World Heavyweight title, right? That should be their goal.
Yes.
Is to work towards that. And so they start wrestling on Superstars or Saturday morning Slam Masters or whatever the fuck it's called, and then they get to Raw and start working on Raw, and then maybe they win a tag team title with someone, maybe they get a US title or IC title, and then drop that and work move on to like the main event. That would seem like the goal, right? I mean, that's
who comes to mind?
Who comes
Bret
to mind?
Hart, Bret Hart, and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just always seemed like the best way to, because I mean, you you get to know these people, these wrestlers as they make their way up, and it seems I mean, let's say you okay, let's say your job, you get a job, and your job is to sweep the floor. Well, wouldn't you want to eventually, get a job, running the cash register after that? And then maybe after that, maybe being like second in command, and then maybe after that, being the boss. Like, wouldn't you want to work your way up a company? Isn't that the whole point of employment? It would seem like.
Okay, but what if you're dealing with somebody who they feel like that's not the case? Like, let's say you do your job where you sweep the floors, but you want to be the one who's running the cash register. Well, what if you don't do a very good job sweeping the floors? Or what if you're not impressive to the people who would decide whether or not you get to go to the cash register? Then what?
Then you find a new job or you get better at your job.
That's what sucks about it, because like there's a lot of people who agree, and it seems like most of them are on Cageside, and I'm sure there's a lot of them who are on all across the fucking internet. I'm not going to call them the IWC because I hate that. We're not all one fucking entity who all think the same. That's stupid. But it seems like the majority of people, Dolph Ziggler's got it. Okay, he's got every fucking thing he needs, and you can tell they've recognized this because we talked all the time. Get him away from Vicky. Give him a fucking microphone and actually let him use it on TV. And guess what? They've been doing that. And they kind of did it the way you're talking about, because they're like, okay, his first real promo was on Main Event. And then they gave him the mic and let him do it on SmackDown. And then they gave him the mic and let him do it on Raw. And now they're letting him do it more and more. And they put him in a storyline with the biggest star in the entire company and all of pro wrestling today. And he's been gradually getting there. And they had him go over clean against, they've done this a couple times. They had him beat Chris Jericho out of the company, which a lot of people think that's no big deal anymore, but that's still, that's something that should stick. It's stuck in my mind. And then Survivor Series, his team won. He pinned Randy fucking Orton. That's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Dolph Ziggler might be the closest thing we have to, what it used to be like with someone coming up slowly but surely, and not being either not either being forced down our throats, or them holding off too long and not pulling the trigger to where it doesn't matter once they finally do.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing about that too, is if they decide not to. If they take his briefcase from him, and if he kind of ends up languishing, because they could take his briefcase from him and he could win the Royal Rumble. Yeah. I mean, that's not out of line, especially if they're not going to get rid of the World Heavyweight title. If they're not going to unify the belts, then, I mean, he could win the Rumble.
Are there rumors of the title unification? Has that been going around?
There are rumors of that.
Interesting.
I'm not sure it would ever happen.
Well, I like the whole point I was trying to make. I like that because at that point, there's one common goal that everyone should be striving for.
Yeah. Like you're saying, like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, they started as tag wrestlers, became singles wrestlers, got to the mid-card, worked for the Intercontinental title, and this took years. This was a years-long process. This wasn't like everybody wants instant gratification, it seems like. People are like, you don't understand. The show will never end. Like, there's no, why are we all in a hurry? Because this show they have to make 3 more hours of this next week, and the week after, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after. It's always going to continue. They don't have any reason to rush anything.
That's a huge reason why I don't watch the show anymore, by the way. It's 3 hours long.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. It's horrid. And CM Punk even said as much on the fucking last episode. Dismal 3-hour Raws, he said, during his promo. Encouraged everyone to just get up and leave if they didn't like him. Which I think was his smart-ass way of just saying, yeah, this sucks ass. And we all know it. By the way, on that front, that's another rumor that'll go in the roundup tomorrow, is I read today that there was a mix-up recently where they were listing Raw as 2 hours. And then WWE said that was only in certain markets. and it was only a Comcast thing. But that's bullshit because I don't have Comcast. I have Mediacom, and I live in a market that isn't what they said. They said it was in the east, on the East Coast, in the New York market or whatever, and I live in fucking Illinois, and I had Mediacom, and it was listed as 2 hours on my cable guide, all the way up until the moment when it went live, when it was 3 hours. So there are rumors, and there are people saying that it's entirely possible that the change is coming, and this might be kind of like that story with the Observer and FCW. Remember all that shit?
Yeah, where it's like it's gonna happen, and WWE had to change things around so it didn't seem that way, but it was totally gonna happen.
Yep, it got out. They didn't like that it got out, so they fucking went back on everything in a hurry. And then we're like, well, fuck, we got to do what we got to do anyway, and then went ahead and it went out. But because I mean, that's in line with stories that the Observer reported a couple stories way back when this went to 3 hours, where they said there are a lot of people in the company who say by January of next year they'll be back to 2 hours because you cannot sustain an audience with 3 hours of television, and the ratings prove it. They were down to like 3.4 million viewers on average this week against obviously a really good Monday Night Football game, and the ratings are always going to be lower during Monday Night Football season. But, I mean, you just, like you said, you're burning people out, man. I can't care for that long. I just can't.
Dude, it's hard for me to care about anything for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, be it a great movie, any kind of sporting event, let alone a crappy episode of Raw.
A football game probably takes 3 hours. They always list it for 3 hours. So like noon to 3. Like, so a Bear game probably takes 3 hours. I can stay invested the entire time, but they give you breaks.
Yeah, but even then you got halftime, you've got 4,000 timeouts.
Yep.
And
plenty of breaks. You can refresh, and you stay invested in the eventual outcome in the end. And WWE has made it to where there's no reason to feel invested in anything. Like Ryback was a good example of that recently when they built him up the way they did, and they took him to Hell in a Cell. They put him in a Hell in a Cell match where it seemed like, okay, he's undefeated, he's beaten everybody, now he's going for the title. Punk's had this really long reign. They're in a Hell in a Cell match. There's no DQs here. They can't get out of this. There's going to have to be a finish, and holy shit, like the buy rate went up. Like way more than last year, like 20,000 more than you were talking about, like John Cena, without John Cena even on the show. And you're like, well, how does that happen? I was like, well, duh. If you finally fucking act like the outcome of a match matters, people will care. And they still fucked it up because they gave a smash finish with Brad Maddox. So that's the same shit. And then the numbers were good, so they immediately ignored what made Ryback over in the first place and said, well, the numbers were good, so we need to fucking immediately shoehorn him into the main event of the next pay-per-view. So one week they had a whole pay-per-view lined up, and the very next week they changed the entire thing.
Yeah,
just because of that. Psych. Fuck you guys. This is what you really want, because that's what we got the buy rate in, and holy shit, Ryback's kind of a star. Not really. The idea of it was what was got over. You actually made people care about them. There's got to be a real outcome. There has to be a real outcome. Funny how that fucking works.
All right, so
was it like that in the Attitude Era?
No, it was just kind of. It always just seemed like what's going to happen next.
Okay. Yeah, because I know they did some insane fucking buy rates in that era, but they had clean finishes too, as from what I can remember. I know they did a lot of smosh shit, they did a lot of run-ins, but the finishes were ultimately clean.
When is
a loser?
When is TLC? Is it this Sunday or next?
Next Sunday. This Sunday is Final Resolution, TNA.
Nah.
I'm sure you're still watching TNA.
I never miss Impact. That is true.
Man, Brooke fucking Hogan, man. Oh my god.
I have no idea what's going on with Impact.
It's Brooke Hogan's show.
I don't even keep up with it, through Cageside.
Wait until you hear this. Then
I keep up with everything else except TNA. Like I couldn't care. I could not care less.
This is funny. Then we'll get to test this out till you hear this. See how surprised you are. The latest episode of Impact, I shit you not. Here's the storyline.
Okay.
And it's opened and closed the show. Bully Ray. Austin Aries is still the main antagonist, and he called out this.
Okay, wait. So Austin Aries is a bad guy now?
Yeah,
he's a rule breaker. When did that happen?
Well, he turned heel because of Hardy. They put the belt on Hardy at Bound for Glory, and basically just because
Oh
Hardy
yeah, yeah. He's doing kind of a CM Punk, Summer
a little
Punk
bit,
type
yeah,
thing.
yeah, a
Okay,
little
gotcha.
bit. It's not going over very well in the sense of you can tell it was kind of a Punk ripoff, and people didn't really buy it that way. But people at TNA are pretty high on it apparently. And so he, at one point, he comes out and he goes, "I know what my problem is. It's the name Hogan. So I'm calling Hogan out, not Hulk though. I'm calling out Brooke. So here comes Brooke, and and he starts calling her
And
out
in all her masculine glory.
in all her masculine glory and the thunder thighs and everything, and wearing this short skirt to show it all off. As she bent over, her pussy would be hanging out. And he says something. He brings up her having an affair with one of the wrestlers. And it turns out to be, I shit you not, Bully fucking Ray, dude. And Bully Ray comes running out. Hogan comes walking out, trying to get to the ring, but he's walking because his back is broken in 8 places at all times. And the main storyline now is that Hulk wants to know what's going on between Bully and Brooke. And they're not really denying that they're fucking each other. They're just kind of like beating around the bush a lot. And Brooke is acting really distraught that her dad is upset about the situation.
I'm sure
That's
Bully Ray's beating around the bush.
and Austin Aries is rolling all this is just to make fun of Brooke and new and interesting ways to he finds new and interesting ways to call her a slut every week on Impact. Like he was at one point he was laying on Hogan's desk because they were doing the Championship Thursday thing and there was 4 guys and one of them's going to get an X Division title shot and he picks between the 4 guys. That's their gimmick. Well, like there's 3 guys back there and Aries is back there too and he's laying on the desk and he's like, "Come on, Hulk, hurry up and get back here. I'm kind of sore laying on the desk like this. I can't believe Brooke does it so well." Shit like that.
That sounds solid. I need to tune in next Thursday. Is this still
That
on
sounds good
Thursdays?
to you. Yeah, it's still on Thursdays. It's live now.
Man,
That's what it is. That sounds good to you?
that
It's
sounds
it's awful.
that sounds compelling.
That's compelling TV to you?
It's Impact Wrestling right there. What the fuck is Hulk Hogan's problem? What's going on? What?
He's an awful human being. I wrote a whole big piece on it. It's his vanity show. He's the same thing he does with every fucking company. You want to be at the top, fine, but at least be a wrestler. He's not even a wrestler anymore. And Dixie lets him do it because his name is Hulk Hogan.
Man, Dixie's a beautiful older woman. I'll give her that much. That's all that's all I have to say about Dixie Carter.
She's forgiven because she's a beautiful older woman.
Yeah, she's kept her beauty through the years. So
what are you talking about, dude?
Do you think John Cena beats Dolph Ziggler? Dolphington Zigglerton.
Dolphington Zigglerton. Do I think Cena? Yeah, man, I don't know. Because the more I read about it and I fucking, I work my backstage sources. And I don't know.
Sources say John Cena's a dick backstage.
Sources do say that. Namely Gabe Tuft. And
That's
if you don't know that name,
a weird name.
Isn't that a weird name? Tuft is bad enough, but who names their kid Gabe?
Well, Gabriel, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's true. That's still kind of a gay name.
Although I know a guy named Larry, and his name is just Larry. It's not short for Lawrence or anything. What's that all about?
Lawrence doesn't shorten down to Larry. You don't shorten Lawrence.
It shortens down to Larry. It absolutely does.
No.
Yes.
Lawrence does not shorten down to Larry.
It does. You're a liar.
Erica says it does. I've never heard that. Or maybe I never knew anyone that went by Larry who actually told me their real name was Lawrence.
Maybe they don't trust you with that information.
That's just weird. I don't like shortening names. That's how fucking lazy American people are.
And then she also says, "Who the fuck names their kid Larry?"
I have no idea. Dumb people.
You're calling that guy's parents dumb. Come on.
That guy's parents are very dumb.
John Cena, so he'll cash in against a Big Show, right? Because I mean,
that's what he said. He did an interview with kayfabe interview with WWE.com and said that he would look forward to winning it, and WWE is actually taking the time to promote it properly because there was some talk that they would just take the creative license, that he'd win the fucking thing, and then they would just go, yeah, but he can cash it in on the WWE champ, which presumably by WrestleMania will be The Rock. They're advertising it as the Money in the Bank SmackDown briefcase, or the World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank briefcase.
So that's because there's two that people competed for. He won the WWE title one. He won that.
Yeah, and then failed.
I mean, it's not like before where you could pretty much cash it in on anyone, right? On either brand when it was still at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it used to be that way. Yeah. But not anymore, because they won't. Obviously, you know how they are. It's a successful concept, so they fucking bleed as much out of it as they can. But I think the only reason you have him win is if they're going to do the unification thing. So I'm kind of leaning towards no, and especially since he beat Ziggler clean 2 shows in a row. Every single show they've done, Ziggler has come out on the worst end of it. Either Cena pinned him, he pinned him in a singles match, and he pinned him in a tag match in consecutive weeks. And he finished a SmackDown, put him in the STF, and that's how the show ended. Doesn't that kind of say to you that Ziggler's going to win? Isn't that WWE's ass backwards booking?
Well, I mean, you let the guy who's going to lose look strong going into the event, or the guy who's going to win look weak, so it's even more of a bigger deal when he does win.
Yeah, like if they think that works. Like, we can make him look shitty going in because he'll win and then he'll look okay. And that way we save the other guy, too, because the other guy looked good going in, but then he lost, but he still looks okay. Like, that's so fucking dumb.
Tried and true, man. Time tested.
No, it's not, though. That's what's funny is it's not really tried and tested. It's awful. It just depends on the guy. It's John Cena. He's never going to not be over.
Okay, so what about who wins the Rumble then? If they do the unification, it's Cena beats Ziggler, gets the briefcase, cashes it in at some point, beats Big Show, and then he's the World Heavyweight Champion. Rock beats CM Punk at Rumble. He's the WWE Champion. I mean, and how do they get to wrestle at WrestleMania? Like what happens to whoever wins the Rumble?
Well, somebody fucking brought up the idea in the comments, which this is actually a brilliant idea, that Punk will lose the belt to Rock at Rumble, and Cena will have cashed in and done all his bullshit and won the fucking world title. Maybe even at Rumble they could do, or whenever they want to do it. They can even have Ziggler cash in the fucking briefcase at Raw next week or SmackDown next week, whatever, and have the world title going into TLC, and they just make him defend that. And then Cena wins like that. And Punk, after losing to The Rock, and they both have the titles, after Punk loses to The Rock, he comes back in, which would mean having the Rumble happen after Rock versus Punk, which right now is kind of up in the air. They don't, from what I've seen and read and heard, they don't know which match is going on last.
Rumble always has to be last.
Well,
always has to be.
Not always. There's been a couple shows where it hasn't, and I guess it's still up in the air right now as to whether or not they're going to put.
When has it never gone on last?
Help me out, Cagesiders. I know there are a couple shows where it hasn't.
Dude, I'm going to say never, ever.
I think 2006 actually. Look it up. You can look it up. But I'm finishing this. So anyway, Punk loses the belt to The Rock. Cena at this point is still the world champ. So after Punk loses, later on he comes in maybe as the 29 30 to the Rumble. Surprise entrant, whatever. No one expects it.
Manages to win.
Was it 06?
Yeah, it was both title matches were on after.
There you go.
Rey Mysterio won, and then John Cena won, and then Kurt Angle won.
There you go. And that's not the only time they've done it, too, I don't think. But Punk comes back in, somehow manages to win the fucking Rumble, and then they bring out The Rock and Cena, maybe even on the very next episode of Raw, which The Rock is advertised for, and Punk comes out and says he gets to pick who he's defending or who he wants to go after. He says, I want them both. So I challenge both of you, and we'll do a fucking triple threat match at WrestleMania.
Do it up.
That sounds like a really good fucking idea to me.
So who does
I don't want to see The Rock. I don't want to see The Rock versus John Cena too.
I remember someone said Cena has to get his win back. I don't think that's necessarily true. Or, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are saying that. Not just one person on the internet has ever said that. But anyone who's saying that John Cena needs to get his win back, that's not necessarily true. That'll be true if John Cena needed to beat The Rock to look strong again. But he doesn't. I mean, he's already John Cena. Like, he has the John Cena title.
Well, traditional WWE pro wrestling even booking says that would be the case. That Rock isn't going to come back for any length of time as a full-time guy. So you bring him back and you let, John Cena go over him because obviously it'll mean more once Rock leaves and Cena sticks around to carry the fucking promotion as a champion. That's booking 101. But if, I've even heard and read today that there was an idea being floated around WWE Creative that they wouldn't even do any of that and they would do Brock Lesnar versus The Rock at WrestleMania. And Brock would cost The Rock his WWE Championship match against Punk at the Rumble. What do you think of that idea?
What's his beef with The Rock?
I have no idea. Yeah, they just make one.
Just make one up. Just like you came back. You came back. Everyone loves you. I came back. Everyone hates me. Whatever.
Perfect.
But then, who's the Undertaker going to wrestle? Because I read that him and Punk were. That was rumored, and Skylark Freedom brings that up as well.
Yes.
I don't want him to wrestle Ryback at all.
Yeah, there was talks of that, but there were also talks of Ryback versus Big Show. It makes sense that everything would fall into place the way they have it set up now. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar rematch, John Cena versus John Cena versus The Rock rematch, and then CM Punk versus Undertaker because those are the two biggest guys still left. But when you get to booking like that, like, okay, we're going to have Taker come back because the streak is a gimmick that sells, and we can definitely get a bunch, a bunch of buys just because somebody's going to be going for it. And Punk, obviously the idea is that after this huge long reign, 434 straight days as champ, maybe he's the guy who can break the streak. And they've talked about actually doing that, where somebody actually beats Undertaker at WrestleMania. Maybe it could be Punk. I don't know. But I'm kind of under fucking whelmed, man. I really would hate it if that's the way the WrestleMania card shaped up. I wouldn't hate it. I'd obviously pay for it and have a good time watching it, I'm sure. But I don't really have any interest in Punk versus Undertaker. I have zero fucking interest in Triple H versus Brock Lesnar Part 2. And I also don't have any real interest in The Rock versus John Cena Part 2. It feels too predictable.
What about Brock Undertaker?
I would love that. Because they could play on the whole, shooting.
You want to do this?
Yeah, you want to do it? You want to do it?
Brock Lesnar's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I just got my shit kicked in. What are you talking about?
He really did too. He had a look on his face like, not sure what you're doing. I'm guessing I know because you're who you are, but like, you're fucking bogus, man. Come on. That doesn't make you look tough either. Like, you're threatening a guy who literally just got embarrassed in front of millions of people. Like, he's still bleeding all over the place and obviously fucked up, and you're trying to act tough? Come on, man. Come on, Taker.
So we got Cena, Rock, Punk, triple threat, and Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. And
that would leave Triple H on the sidelines, which, you know what? Not a bad thing. Wouldn't be a bad thing.
He's got to learn how to run those big shows. I know he's having a swell old time running SmackDowns and the occasional Raw, but, he's got to put on his big boy pants and learn how to run a big show eventually.
Yeah.
Not the big show. I'm sure he knows how to run the big show.
Sure. Oh, run him real deep. Slide it up.
Yeah.
No, he's been getting more responsibilities backstage, I guess, is another thing I've heard and read and shit. But, I have to keep fucking saying that sort of disclaimer because it's pro wrestling and he can't say anything as fact. Which is gay, made it difficult reporting this Punk knee injury thing.
Zero Indulgence says that Punk's long title run should end giving someone a rub, not to someone who's never around.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that fucking funny that they might sacrifice Ziggler to Cena and then Punk's going to lose his belt after this huge reign to The Rock of all fucking people, just so The Rock can go and lose it to Cena? Who the fuck goes over here? Nobody. All the same fucking people. It's the same shit.
In the end, Cena still goes over.
In the end.
The end game is Cena with the undisputed title.
Yeah. Even if they unify, it would still be Cena. Cena, all roads point to fucking John Cena.
All roads end with John Cena. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me.
Even if you guys haven't seen it yet, it's actually pretty good. The video I posted not long before the show, the Happy Holidays message from WWE, and they actually sent that to my email inbox, so maybe I'm on their mailing list now. But you should watch it. And what it is they have John Cena is the guy leading. What do they call that dude at the front of the fucking orchestra, throwing his thing around?
The conductor.
Conductor. He's conducting the superstars to sing a song. He's not the champ. There are two different world champs. He's not one of them, but he's the one conducting it. And he's the one who says, just want to say happy holidays to everybody, and we're going to donate some of this and blah, blah, and see you guys. And even in the cartoon, CM Punk is trying to do something. I think he's trying to turn on the fucking Christmas tree or something as a cartoon. And Cena comes up and just fucking blasts him. And he gets covered in snow, and then Cena turns on the tree and ends up standing tall. That's literally how that goes.
Because he's Super Cena, man. Superman
all
Cena.
Roads, yeah, all roads lead back to Cena, which he's not interesting. That's why he's never going to be interesting. He has zero fucking vulnerabilities.
That's why Superman isn't interesting. I mean, it's insanely difficult to craft a good Superman story. Like, I could probably
Batman is interesting and Superman is not.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably rattle off 5 Superman stories for the past 20 years. Birthright, I guess the past 30 years, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. But it's just hard to, what makes that man tick? Is someone who can do anything, defy any odds, take on anyone. What makes him interesting? Where's the conflict?
Yeah, and they should have done, we talked about this many times before, where they had the opportunity to do something really cool and special like that, where you go, okay, we think of Cena as that guy, use that. Fucking use that as a plot point and go, okay, put him on a long losing streak and have him sort of start losing his confidence. And he's not a great actor, but he can act just enough that you can do that. You remember in 2003 when they had Ric Flair have a match against Triple H on Raw? And Shawn Michaels went up to him, and they had a backstage segment where Flair starts crying because it was very close to home that he didn't really know if he had it anymore. He feels like, and people told him, you're the best ever, the greatest wrestler of all fucking time, and he's identity crisis, full blown, in real life, and it's kind of bleeding onto the screen. He's crying in front of Shawn Michaels, and Shawn's going, I know that you can do this. I know you don't lay down. Triple H tried to convince him to lay down because they had been buddy Evolution. I think this is just before Evolution was getting ready to kick off. And Triple H is like, just go out there and lay down. You can't beat me anyway. And Shawn's like, I know you can beat him. And they go out, and Flair gives him this awesome fucking match. Loses anyway, ultimately. Gives him this awesome fucking match, and it's a cool story. And they did this in one episode of Raw. Ended up, he gets, both guys got cheered. Triple H gives him, shakes his hand and goes, hey, you're a boss, man. That's pretty fucking crazy. You were able to do that with me, the world heavyweight champion at the time. And
wasn't that the match where he, that was for the vacant world heavyweight championship, wasn't it?
No. Triple H was the champ at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then the show goes off the air, and everybody comes out, and they hoisted Flair up on his shoulders and let him carry the belt around, and he cried, and it was this big redeeming moment for him. Well, you have a guy in John Cena, you can run that story, but do it over the course of a few months. I feel like they've already missed their window. Maybe they could cram it in now, but if you start it with Ziggler, you go, okay, you can kind of play up the fact that he tried to cash in the briefcase at Raw 1000 and he lost. He tried at SummerSlam and he lost. He tried at Night of Champions and he lost, kind of on a bullshit technicality, but whatever. Now he's got another chance to get the shit from Ziggler, to get the briefcase, to maybe win another title, and he make him lose again. And then he loses his confidence, and then he starts getting beat by guys he would never get beat by. Make him fucking job to JTG. Dead fucking serious. I know that sounds ludicrous. Dead serious. At his lowest point. Then he comes out the next week, cuts a promo, and says, I'm leaving. I don't have it anymore. I just don't. And maybe you cut another a promo the next week where maybe it's Vince, maybe it's anybody, where you have someone go to maybe to his house and you talk to him and you go, you got to come back. You know you can do this. And he's got a crisis of confidence. Identity full blown. He doesn't know who he is anymore. I used to be the best, and I just don't have it. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It would require a lot of commitment, and then bring him back, have him beat JTG, have him beat low end guys, start building him, and gradually he builds his confidence. And then you have him go and you have him beat a really good guy. And then you have him win like a battle royal or some shit like that and gradually move him along to where it builds towards the Rock rematch, where he's like, and then he comes face to face with the Rock, and the Rock looks at him and he goes, I already beat you and you ain't even on my level. And immediately, everyone would immediately think, holy shit, we know. They would get behind Cena. You couldn't help it at that point because of the story arc. You would immediately get behind John Cena. And you go, no, he is on your level, Rock. In fact, I think he's better than you, and I think he can beat you. And like Cena starts to realize this finally, and it leads to the big rematch at WrestleMania. Can Cena beat the guy that beat him, that he wasn't good enough to beat last year, after all the shit that he's gone through, and the title's on the line, and it's this big, huge thing. And then Cena actually, after a match, if they do the psychology right, to a lot of near falls, and Cena almost comes up short, but at the very last minute, he hits the fucking FU, and he gets the 1, 2, 3, the pin. And he wins the title.
The attitude adjustment, please.
Yeah, well, whatever. The attitude adjustment. Whatever.
You know, Brooklyn Brawler brings up the point I wanted to bring up, is they try to do this already after he lost to Rock. And then he ended up beating Lesnar. And then he had that match with Laurinaitis, which, I mean, he just embarrassed him, but ended up losing, you know, on a technicality anyway. And they tried to do this, but they backed off of it.
Yeah, they wouldn't follow through with it. That's the problem. They back up because, you know, the ratings go down and they go, oh, shit, you know, put the title on him. You know, they did that last year. They go, oh, my God. You know, the ratings go down and Vince comes back and then, okay, the ratings are down again. Oh, shit, Vince comes back and make this match, you know, 8 more stipulations, or you got to do this, you got to do that, because, you know, week to week, is it, look, you're not going to lose your entire audience. Like, even at your low point right now, when it's a 3-hour Raw, when nobody gives a shit about any of your stars, when the one star that they do care about isn't interesting at all because you haven't bothered to craft an interesting story for him, even at the darkest point, you're rolling with 3.5 million viewers, man. That's a lot of fucking people. Like, if you can sustain that audience up against, you know, a big Monday Night Football game, Redskins Giants, which did like 16 million viewers, you can do plenty. You can take the fucking time to craft a storyline that people will ultimately care about, and you'll start to gradually grab them. You'll get them back. That's just, you know, that's their big fucking problem. Stick with it. Don't just give up on it. Don't start it and then stop it. That's a huge issue in all of pro wrestling.
Well, I mean, yeah, they panic, and like Zero Indulgence says, you know, Vince goes back to Super Cena. It's a security blanket. They panic and they go back to, you know, what's tried and true, or they do something like crazy. They, you know, shake everything up, like, you know, with Nexus or with CM Punk in his, you know, is a pipe bomb promo, but they don't plan beyond that. He's like, okay, what's going to work this week? And then when they don't plan beyond that, they try to cobble something together for the next week, and it doesn't, you know, everyone's disappointed by, you know, the you know, what's happened next. Because, you know, after Nexus, everyone's like, what's going on? What's going to happen next? I have to watch. It's like, oh, they're just all going to look stupid. Like, John Cena's going to call them gay and beat them all. Awesome. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, and this is an argument I've had with K. Sawyer Paul, is that he wants to look at everything in terms of just the storyline and just try to break that down, because that's where all your intellectual curiosity should be, and it shouldn't be in ratings, and it shouldn't be in merchandise sales, and it shouldn't be in all this other stuff. I'm not sure you can ever go about it that way, because that's not what they think of. Like you said, the ratings go down, Super Cena. That's not story. That's nothing. He doesn't give a shit about the story at that point. He just cares about his business doing well. And sometimes you have to sacrifice the story for that. And it just sucks, because I don't think they're going to be able to make people really care about a rematch between The Rock and John Cena like they think they can, because of how big the buy rate was for WrestleMania last year, or this past year, WrestleMania 28. They think they're going to get something similar. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to be able to make people care. Because what's the angle?
But yeah, I mean, like you said, if, you know, he loses to Rock, if he had lost to Lesnar, and just kind of like had this whole thing, and maybe even like took a month or two off. He's like, guys, I don't have it anymore. I don't have it. And then he like maybe at his lowest point, maybe he loses to a JTG or a Heath Slater or something.
Yeah.
And then he realized he's like, I don't have it anymore. Like whatever I had before, I guess The Rock beat it out of me.
And then you can create a character off that too. And
then he's convinced to come back at the Rumble. He's like, look, man, like everyone's on equal footing in the Rumble. It's everyone has as much of a chance to win as the next guy.
And he has a good performance, but he doesn't win. Wouldn't that be perfect?
I would say that he does win.
That could be a turning point for him to where he has a really good performance, but he gets eliminated. But after he does, he kind of nods his head like, "Hey, I can do this."
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And then maybe he wins at Elimination Chamber to set up the match with The Rock.
Yeah.
Fucking there you go, man. You see that small little brainstorm right here comes up with a better story than they've come up with for fucking anything in a year. Follow through with that shit, man. That's just so easy. Instead, Lesnar beats the shit out of him for 30 minutes and he wins. I don't get it. I don't understand it. That did nothing for Brock. That did nothing for anybody. And like we said, you can do the fucking Cena storyline, and whoever he loses to, that low-end jobber, that guy's going to fucking be a star very quickly. That guy can have maybe not a star, but he can have a new storyline right there. I beat John Cena, JTG, or like you said, Heath Slater, or Drew McIntyre, one of the 3-man band members, whoever you want to do it with. It don't even matter. They can just go around pimping the fact that they beat John Cena. Didn't they do that with Triple H once? Where somebody beat him and then they fucking like touted it like crazy for like a year? Maybe it was Benjamin.
I think you're thinking of Barry Horowitz and Skip from the Body Donnas.
I don't know. I'm thinking of
Brooklyn Brawler says that Cena hasn't won a pay-per-view match in July. Aren't the seeds already in place with this if he loses at TLC? No, because maybe, but it's not as effective after the fact. If you're like, oh wow, like he hasn't won a match since the middle of last year. Okay, does he still have it? Well, like, obviously, never thought that he lost it because you're still giving him title matches where a chance at the World Heavyweight Championship is at stake.
Yeah, like the seeds are there enough that they could still run with it, but it's not like it hasn't been planned and put into place. It hasn't been heading this way, which is what you would need for this kind of story arc, which, like you said, is you have to make him vulnerable. You have to make him, okay, he's just not who he used to be. Make me believe he's not Cena. Like they did that WWE.com article where they literally called him Superman. I did a whole post on it. I said he's Superman, and WWE, they're admitting it now.
How long is this show? Is this an hour long? This is an hour-long show?
Yeah, we're actually slightly over. I was just getting ready to say that we're getting ready to get off here. You got anything else you want to say?
Before we go, Canaanite wants to know how Del Rio, Sandow, Miz, Ray, Sin Cara, primetime players, and Orton are getting on TLC. What do you think?
Ray's hurt right now, from what I was just reading. He's actually not been. Nice. Yeah, he's not been.
Miz and Sandow for sure.
Yeah, they just started. Wait for SmackDown. They'll probably have a singles match. Yeah. Sin Cara's in the doghouse because he was really sluggish and blown up at a match. Orton and Del Rio, I could see them working a match. Or
Kate Knight says, I hope it's not Orton versus Del Rio for like the 100th time.
I wouldn't doubt that maybe they could do that. But it's possible too that they don't even. I don't know. Maybe just a last minute thing. Orton's kind of been a fringe player, but he's getting ready to turn heel, and he'll be a big focus next year. So will for Antonio Cesaro fans. Also read that he will be a big point of focus over the next year. They're going to push him pretty hard. So there you go. There you fucking go. Thanks for fucking doing the show, motherfucker.
Hey, I'm Matthew Roth, of course. Why wouldn't I?
From Seattle.
I do it every week.
Every week.
I do the show every week, every Wednesday.
Well, we certainly appreciate it.
8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern.
We certainly appreciate it.
No worries. How do I stop this? How do I stop talking?
How do you stop talking? I guess I think I'm usually the one that does. We love you, Cagesiders, and we'll see you next week. Later.
Bye, Cagesiders.
Yes, sir. We promised you a great gorgeous George. Here it comes. Andre, the Giant. WrestleMania. Everyone has a voice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is electric.